What if God doesn't fix it? Not the relationship, not the diagnosis, not the season that you're in, not this ache that you keep carrying around quietly. What does that do to the way that you think about him? What does it stir in you when the prayers don't get answered the way that you'd hoped? Maybe you're still praying, but maybe it's just different now. Maybe your faith feels quieter, less certain, less confident, more tender. And maybe part of you wonders, is this what trusting God is supposed to feel like? Because nobody really teaches us how to walk with God when he doesn't change the thing that we've asked him to change. We're taught how to praise him when he does move, but not how to stay with him when he doesn't. So today, I just want to sit with you in that honest space and really remind you that the way that you're feeling does not disqualify your faith. It may actually be deepening it. So lately, I've been noticing the trees. I've been spending a little bit more time lounging, and out my picture window in my front room, I have this great view when I'm laying down of the treetops in the neighborhood that I live in. And I'm noticing that they're not the pretty ones, not the spring, pretty, fluffy, getting ready to just pop ones, not the full summer green, lush ones that we have in Missouri, and not the beautiful fall colored ones, the winter ones. And I used to feel very sad when I looked at them. They feel barren and empty, like something's missing. But something changed this year, and it actually started for me in the fall, about just seeing, observing things from a different perspective. And this winter, I started seeing something a little different. Without the leaves, I can actually see the tree. I can see its shape, its outline, its foundation. I can see how the branches stretch in all different directions, how new branches grow out of the old ones, and how nothing about them is symmetrical, yet everything about them is intentional. And I realize that every branch feels like a part of us. Different stories, different seasons, different growth, all reaching for the same sky. And without the leaves blocking the view, I can now see more sky. I can see it clearly now. I can see above the trees, and that's been doing something in me. And what I thought was barrenness is actually perspective. What I thought was emptiness is actually space. And I realized this winter isn't about missing something. It's about what is finally visible. The roots, the structure, the reaching. I don't see the trees as dead anymore. I see them as honest. They're still growing. They're still becoming. They're still reaching. And somehow that's how this winter has felt for me too. Not productive, not shiny, not impressive, but true. So for the next few months, this is what we're going to tend together. We're going to be looking at identity and confidence and clarity, but not as things to perform, but as roots to strengthen. This winter isn't about becoming more impressive. It's about becoming more grounded. And as I kept watching the trees, just, staring at the trees, not like I was taking notes or anything, I realized something else. Without the leaves, the tree isn't doing anything that we can see. It's not producing, it's not performing, it's not showing off its growth. It's still becoming. And I think that's where a lot of us get uncomfortable in our faith. When we can't see ourselves doing something strong, we start questioning what we know to be true. Is it even true? And that's when I started noticing the difference between expectation and expectancy in my own walk with God. If I were explaining this to a friend, I'd say something like this. Expectation is when we trust God and we're focused on what He's going to do. It's faith that's looking for movement, faith that's watching for results, faith that feels safest when something changes. And again, that is not wrong. That is a very human faith. But expectancy is different. Expectancy is when we trust God because of who He is, not because of what we see Him do. It's faith that knows even when it can't point to proof. Expectation lives more in the doing. Expectancy lives more in the knowing. Expectation says, I believe God will show up. Expectancy says, I know God is here. Expectation asks, what is God going to do about this? And expectancy asks, who is God being to me in the middle of this? And I realized I had been doing faith really well, but I was still learning how to rest in knowing God. And I don't think I'm alone in this. I feel like as women, we like checklists. We want to see what's going on. We want results. And that idea of being quiet and still and filled with expectancy is a little unnerving. And that is a little hard, but that is where God is. That's where the true nature, where we're going to get our peace is from. So I've known scripture, I've known truth, I've known theology, but in this particular season of my life, God is not teaching me more information. I'm looking for more information, and what he's reminding me is that's not what you need. He's teaching me deeper trust, not in the outcomes, because I'm not liking the outcomes. I'm just going to tell you, I've been praying and I didn't get the outcomes I wanted, but I'm trusting in him. And that shift in my mindset didn't make me louder in my faith. It actually made me quieter, more honest, more dependent. And when you start shifting from the doing faith to the knowing God, something really interesting happens. You do not feel lighter right away. You actually feel the weight more because you're no longer distracting yourself with performance. You're finally feeling what's been there. And sometimes it's not very comfortable. I keep describing this season as it's like carrying around 100-pound weight. And I want to tell you what I mean by that. So it wasn't just sadness. And when I put this in past terms, I pray that the bulk of what I needed to go through is in the past, but it still sits with me. This is stuff I'm still processing. And it's not just sadness, although the last few weeks has been filled with a lot of sadness. It was the weight of unanswered prayers. And when you spend years of your life looking for a certain answer, because of course that would be God's will. Why would that not be God's will? And then that does not happen. You feel this weight of trying to be strong when you don't feel strong. It's this weight of wanting to move forward, but you also need to grieve. It's this weight of loving God deeply, but not knowing how to hold that trust and that disappointment together. It's the weight of responsibility, identity, calling, and uncertainty sitting all together at the same table. So it's not one emotion. It's like layers. So I felt in my body, I feel like if I describe this to you, you might be able to understand what I'm saying and maybe recognize some of these things in yourself. And let me just tell you, you're not alone. You're not alone. And that's why I want to share more honestly with what I'm learning and going through and what God is teaching me, because I believe in that community. I believe that no one is alone. We're all feeling the same thing. We're just not talking about it. And if you know anything about me, you know I'm going to talk about it. So let me just describe some things that were going on in the last few weeks for me. My body was tired. It wasn't just sleepy. It was bone tired. My emotions completely full, but I wasn't releasing them. My mind foggy from trying to understand what could not be explained. Why would my prayers not be answered? My spirit was quiet. It wasn't gone. It was just tender. And I realized that this weight wasn't a sign that something was wrong with me. In the past, when I have visited this weight, I have always seen it as something wrong with me. But this time, I chose to open my heart and my eyes and ask God just to objectively look at, what am I going through? What am I processing here? And this time, I don't see as something wrong. This isn't wrong with me. I'm processing. All of this is a sign that I was carrying something sacred: grief, hope, faith, change, identity, all at the same time. And when everything is changing on the inside, it is not a light feeling. It feels very heavy. And instead of asking, why am I like this? I started asking, what is this weight trying to teach me? Objectivity. When we start viewing our thoughts and our emotions with objectivity, they do not own you. They don't own us. We get to let go of what does not serve us. And when I was looking at it from this different perspective, what is this weight trying to teach me? The answer wasn't fix it. We got to fix this problem. We got to tidy this up, put it in a box and put a bow on it. And that wasn't happening. It wasn't working. It wasn't working. And I wanted to be more honest. And what I decided was I needed to honor this stage, honor that my body is tired, honor what my heart was processing, honor that my mind needed rest, honor that my spirit needed gentleness. I realized this weight isn't punishment, it's transition. And this is where my identity started to shift for me, because when everything feels heavy, you start asking some pretty quiet questions. Not what should I do next? Because, I'm a doer. It's a doer. We got a list. We got things to do, right? But in this season, I chose to look at this differently. And I asked these questions instead. Who am I in this? Who am I when I'm not producing, creating? Who am I when I don't feel clear? Who am I when my faith feels softer instead of strong? Am I still a daughter? Am I still called? Am I still held? And I realized something really gently, not suddenly, but gently. My identity isn't proven in momentum. It's revealed in staying. I don't become less loved when I'm tired. I don't become less valuable when I'm uncertain. I don't become less faithful when I'm honest. Identity isn't something we perform. It's something that we return to. And in this season, God isn't asking me to climb. He's asking me to root. So if you're in a season that feels heavy too, I just want to offer you a few questions to ask yourself. Do not feel like you have to answer these perfectly. I just want you to be aware. I just want you to notice, what are you thinking? Where are you still trying to do instead of simply know? Where are you holding God to an outcome instead of holding on to his peace and his presence? What part of you is tired of performing faith? What part of you just wants to rest in being loved? And maybe the bravest question of all, what would it look like to trust God without needing to understand him first? That's a big one. And you don't have to solve any of this today. You're allowed to just sit with it. Just think about it. Rewind. Listen to the questions again. Think about this honestly. Now, I don't have a full resolution to my circumstances. My focus, it still comes and goes. As much as I'm really prepared and ready to go forward, it's still there. My confidence is still growing quietly, but I feel the growth. My clarity is still forming slowly, but I see it. But I do know this: God has not been distant in this season. He's been gentle, he's been patient, he's been close. And I'm learning that faith doesn't always feel like certainty. Sometimes it feels like staying soft in a really hard place. And somehow that still counts. And as we walk through this winter together, we are not rushing growth. We're not forcing clarity. We're not pretending confidence. We're tending to our roots, identity, our confidence, and clarity. Not as pressure, but as presence. And if this has helped you breathe a little easier, I'd love for you to follow, to share, or leave a little love on the episode so more women can find it too. And remember, even in the winter, the trees are still growing. I hope this has blessed you, friend. It has very much blessed me, and I will see you next week.